Tonight, the Biden administration negotiating what could be a financial settlement of hundreds of millions of dollars for families who were torn apart. The talks ongoing between the Justice Department and lawyers representing thousands of migrant parents and children who were separated at the U.S. border during the Trump administration. A number of tort cases claiming the families experienced harm when they were forcibly separated. 3 sources familiar with ongoing negotiations tell NBC News that on the table are what for some separated families could be payments of hundreds of thousands of dollars per person in compensation. The Wall Street Journal first reported on Thursday that the Biden administration's in talks to offer significant financial compensation for what the families endured. Sources caution the settlement negotiations aren't final.
Welcome back, TNJ Fearless Soldiers. We definitely thank you for supporting us. We're actually doing a movement right now, so we appreciate everybody who wants to participate and be fearless soldiers for our army. What I want to talk about today is Joe Biden's administration considering giving $450,000 per person to immigrants separated at the border. Now, what I want to ask is, does it pay to go against the law? Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and Health and Human Services could end up paying over $1 million per immigrant family that was separated at the border. Sources told the Journal that around $450,000 a person is considered, but that figure could change depending on each family's circumstances. What in the whole you know what is going on here? Did they forget that they are illegal and they're coming over here? When slavery was abolished, African Americans was promised 40 acres and a mule, and the African Americans built this country. Didn't Joe Biden say this?
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
So let's talk about one of the things that he have done for black people, which separated families from their fathers.
So I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended once and for all this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill, and has had a majority vote of the Democratic members of the United States Senate on the bill. So one of the things I want to do in addition to ending crime is end the political carnage that goes on when we talk about crime. The consensus is A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
And you know what Maxine Waters always say?
You have the power. Stay woke.
Stay woke, right? So what about what Kamala Harris said about him in the debates? And all of a sudden now, they chose to pick someone because black people said pick a black woman. But they don't care of what the policies are done, because what I don't like is most black people are about symbolism and not about results.
But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights.
And Joe always talk about how he is the only one in his group trying to fight for equality for African Americans. He believed that. Anytime you question him on his record, he yells, he screams, he want to say boy. He might as well say boy at the end of his conversation with these so-called black leaders.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on. Take a look at the record.
President-elect, you've mentioned more than once how the black vote saved you in your races in the Senate in Delaware. You've talked about your friendship with Mouse. We are now saying the black community have stood up in this election cycle. Let's not suffocate the black vote in Georgia and make sure we send the right message, because the success of this administration will be the ability of the Senate to confirm your nominees. We have an opportunity here. We want to make sure we seize upon this opportunity and allowing for the input necessary. 10 more appointments to go. A lot of people in our community are getting a little anxious because they are not seeing enough of the progress they thought they would have seen at this point. Let's not disappoint them, and let's not get to a place where voters in Georgia begin to second guess.
Okay, let me respond. I've got to go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. I mean what I say when I say it. I'm the only person who's ever run on 3 platforms that I was told could not possibly win the election, and I never ceased from it. One was on restoring the soul of this country because of what I saw happen in Charlottesville. That was it. No one else was talking about it. The words of presidents matter. Nobody else, no progressive, was talking about it. I did.
You notice when people start lying, they start getting loud, they start, he's lying. But anyway, every time he talking to African Americans, he yells at them. He might as well say boy at the end of it. However, him and the Obama administration, they did not care about African Americans like that. And you should not vote 90% on one party and not expect anything from them. Did you hear Ice Cube talk about this? Ice Cube said we should get something for our vote. Tariq Nasheed brought it up on his platform. We need tangibles. So what is going on? And this is what's going to happen because Joe Biden, his numbers are going down. His popularity is going down in the polls. Economy is horrible. you keep blaming the last administration for it. And what's going to happen if they get through the midterm elections, which I don't think he will. I think it's going to be a transfer and they're going to lose the House and the Senate. They're going to try to have Kamala Harris run because that's one of the things that the black media wanted. They want a black face in the White House. So when their numbers go down, they're going to start pushing her. Yeah, so they do not care about African Americans. They're trying to do what you call the great replacement, where they're trying to get all these other people selectively come here and they're going to take care of them so they can continue to vote for them. Because they realize African Americans are waking up on their BS and they realize they're not going to get the vote. See, Democrats need 95% black people to vote to continue to run the House so they can do stuff for everybody, including, again, they're trying to replace a lot of people in America who's sick and tired of their BS. And we have to realize that we are the people. We're the ones that they're supposed to be working for us, but they have the media. The media is supposed to do their job and tell the truth. And most of the media are liberal. 90% of the media is liberal and they're run by the elites. So they can control how we think. If you go across the country, every radio station plays the same songs. Every channel is the same. Everything is the same. There's 6 companies that run this whole country, media and entertainment. So they're scaring us. But some people are waking up because we have a voice. A lot of sharp people on social media is telling the truth and they're being censored. So anyway, why is it that this Biden administration is worried about immigrants, illegal at that, illegal immigrants, but you don't worry about the people here? You don't worry about all the people you separated by sending these men to jail and giving them bigger jail sentence, and their families all screwed up. Because again, in 1965, there was a Moynihan report that was going to focus on African American men, but they chose not to do that. They focused on the women, and then the men run the house. You didn't empower the men, you empowered the women from 1965. So then you have 30 years of men not being at home, and then these kids out here being destructive. And then 1994, you say, hold on, let's lock them up. We don't care about what's going on because you're going to come over and try to rob my family. And he's still in office. 50 years these people, Nancy Pelosi and all these other people, been in office thinking they know how to run our lives better than we do. None of their kids go to public schools. They don't have the same health care as average American, but we continue to follow their lead. Maxine Waters been in there for 50 years. Nothing changed. Actually got worse. John Gruden said some tweets that was questionable when he wasn't working for ESPN. And everybody said, you need to cut him because he is racist, he can't change. But then you want to look at Joe Biden and say, hey, why not? He can change, can he? Well, tell me what you think about this Joe Biden administration who's trying to pay these illegal immigrants $1 million per family. How much that money should go to African American descendants of slaves? Leave a message below. Tell me what you think. And I'll see you on the next video.